Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on weather. In this update, we've got rapid changes on the way with this coming storm system, but out ahead of it, we got plenty of record heat, but behind it, a strong cold blast gonna bring some snow and more storms, but after that, there's a new storm system next week that could bring some flooding rains. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday out there. I so appreciate all the well wishes. I know my voice is sounding a little bit hoarse this morning, so please bear with me in this update. So let's get right to it. So let's take a look at the overall water vapor imagery this morning, and you can actually see there's a couple complexes right here into the Ohio Valley. That's bringing some storm systems through portions of southern Ohio this morning. There's also another complex up here along the Great Lakes into Wisconsin, feeding into Michigan here. But there's also that little tropical wave that we've been highlighting down here in the Caribbean. That's lifting further north, and that's bringing some tropical moisture into Florida. And this will actually continue to spread further into the Gulf of Mexico into early next week and brings portions of the southeast more heavier rain. But look at this little storm system up here into portions of Wyoming and Montana here. That is your strong cold front that's going to be on the way, with bringing plenty of cold air and much refreshing cold air for many. But we got some plenty of record heat to deal with before now and then. So let's take a look at the overall setup this morning with the overall hazard map, because man, it's pretty busy for the month of May. We got all these areas up here. That is winter weather advisories, guys, with this strong cold front. And up here into the Dakotas, they've got freeze warnings. So a lot of the places obviously planted all their plants, and they're just scrambling to cover them all up here into portions of Montana and to the Dakotas. But further to the south, yeah, look at all that area in pink. That is winter storm warnings, guys. A pretty significant snowstorm for late May hitting the Rocky Mountains. So, man, they closed all the slopes up there. I mean, it's come back in with a vengeance, and some of these areas could pick up easily a foot of snow for the Friday and Saturday. But we got plenty of red flag warnings out here where it's just been bone dry in the desert Southwest and much of New Mexico and West Texas. But look at up here, we've got plenty of record heat and heat advisories up here for the Northeast today. We got widespread 90s coming your way. So plenty of heat on the way. But this morning, you can tell where the cold front is, right? I mean, this is your 6 a.m. temperatures. All these areas in blues, that's your 30s, if not in the 20s in places. So that's plenty of colder air for May standards. But out ahead of it, you got plenty of 70s and 80s and more just record heat that's going to be on the way for a good chunk of the South and the East today. So let's take a look at the overall storm complexes for today, because there's about 3 little highlighted features. First, there's one little feature up here into portions of Grand Rapids, into Lansing, going into Ann Arbor. Those areas could be under the gun with some kind of a slight risk for severe storms today. Those could be some large hail producers and some damaging winds. Not really a tornado threat, but there's also another little complex over here in portions of the Mid-Atlantic, spreading essentially from, say, Pittsburgh, all the way through in portions of Philly into this afternoon. We could have a pretty strong complex roll through portions of Pennsylvania today, swinging through these mesoscale convective complexes that comes across, and some of these areas could be packing a punch, and it actually could start to bow out as it heads towards the Philly area around 4 o'clock this afternoon with some really strong winds. But up here, there's another little system. We have this disturbance down here into Texas. That's going to be pinwheeling from the southwest to the northeast. At the same time, we've got this surface low and this triple point that could be setting the stage for storms going to be firing after, say, the 5 o'clock time frame in and around the Wichita Falls and southern Oklahoma area. So they do have a slight risk for large hail and some damaging winds, and that will pinwheel across further south, heading towards the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but weakening because they do have a strong cap in place down there. But man, look at the record high temperatures. In fact, about 34 potential record high temperatures today. Widespread 90s further down to the south into Texas. Widespread 90s in the southeast. But man, look at that around the East Coast. I mean, 99 degrees in North Carolina. That's about ridiculous for this time of year. I'm sorry. I mean, it should not be that hot this time of year, but man, you're going to be dealing with it with all that heat going to be heading your way with all the just the heat that's been building with this massive ridge that's really been impacting really much of Texas for the last 2 weeks. I mean, a lot of these areas have seen plenty of triple digits and plenty of 90s. I know Dallas expecting another 90-degree tomorrow, so that'll be 15 days in a row of 90-degree plus temperatures, and that's the longest, earliest streak on record. So let's take a look and kind of highlight this little complex up here into portions of Pennsylvania. This is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I stopped it right here because as this little mesoscale complex starts to move out of Pittsburgh and starts to, pinwheel further off into the east, these could be starting to form in what they call a bow echo, kind of a bow line segment right here along this boundary. Whenever you see that, that's actually an indication where we could be looking at some pretty significant winds. We're talking about 70 to maybe 75 miles an hour. Maybe not out of the question with some of these really strong bow echo storms that could be impacting portions of Philly. So I just wanted to highlight that because it definitely appears on some of the latest guidance that this complex could really start to get its act together and could be really packing a punch later on this afternoon. So definitely kind of be on high alert as this, we could be looking at pretty significant wind threat heading through, and these complexes are going to be moving fairly quickly. So definitely be on, keep your head up there if you live into portions of, say, the Harrisburg area, the Allentown area, heading into Philly this afternoon, around 3, 4, 5 o'clock this afternoon, of that complex kind of moving in. But man, look at the cold front. Look at the winter weather advisories, and this is the latest update from the National Weather Service. Significant heavy snow into the Colorado mountains. We got plenty of winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings. The confidence is significantly increasing. Obviously, we had a lot of foliage. We had a lot of tree growth. This could be significant tree damage with all the weight and the heavy snow impacting that area. I mean, literally, you were like 88, almost 90 degrees yesterday in and around Denver, and we're talking about snow today. That is a pretty significant snowstorm on the table, and that's going to impact Friday and Saturday. So we could be looking at power outages, significant delay and travel, significant tree damage is likely with all that leaves on the tree and foliage. So yeah, definitely a dangerous system for up there in the Rocky Mountains. But as we move to Saturday, let's take a look at Saturday, because this is your May 21st Saturday time frame. There's the cold front. You can see where it's at. It's going to take its sweet time. It's actually slowed down a little bit. So, but out ahead of it, we could be looking at a marginal risk, not really like a significant risk, but some of these could be on the stronger side. Say all the way from San Antonio through Dallas, all the way through Oklahoma, through Arkansas, into southeastern portions of Missouri here. We could have a little bit more instability once they hit portions of Illinois and Indiana, but this will pinwheel all the way further north into upstate New York, heading all the way into Burlington, Vermont. So those could be on the strong side, and some of those could be on the severe side. Not really too much of an impact, but I wanted to highlight that threat out ahead of the cold front. But man, there's that record warm before the cold front. And like I said, it does slow down. So that's going to allow temperatures to warm up even further and increase record high temperatures. Now we're talking up to 57 record high temperatures coming up for Saturday, well into the 90s again, back into Texas and the Southeast. And look at all along the East Coast. There's too many record highs to even just disseminate on the map here with widespread. Look at that, 98 degrees and Virginia here. So I mean that is significant heat on the table heading your way. So definitely be on high alert, because heat is nothing to play with, especially up there with people that some of these areas don't have air conditioning and not really typically used to seeing some of those high temperatures, especially so early on in the season. So but yeah, all those Vermont and New Hampshire, plenty of record high temperatures. But there's the cold front, record low maximums in Colorado underneath that cold blast, and plenty of widespread 50s along the midsection of the country. So that's going to be a pretty significant cold blast for May standards, and that's going to bring much cooler conditions for many as we get deeper into the weekend. But I wanted to highlight this, around 8 o'clock. That's what kind of gives you a time frame of where the cold front could be on your Saturday. So it could be right along through Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex by then, but out ahead of it, we could be looking at a squall line. That's why they do have that marginal risk in place out into East Texas, heading into Arkansas, heading into Missouri here, going into Illinois. So some of these, again, just a kind of a marginal risk, but some of these could be on the severe side, packing some 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and some quarter-size hail at times ahead of that cold front. But as we get into Sunday, you can see more areas just continue to wipe away those record temperatures. So this is just going to be a welcome relief in sight for many. I mean, you've been waiting for 70s in much of Texas because you haven't seen that. You just have not seen that. Abilene hit 107 again yesterday, and I think that was like the 12th day already or something crazy, over 100 degrees like in May already. I mean, so it's just been, 70s are just crazy welcome relief for a good chunk of Texas. But there's the record heat going to be extending. Well, there's 99 now in Virginia. So they're just waiting on that cold front up in the Northeast as we get into Sunday. But that's finally going to be on the move as you transition into Monday. But out ahead of it, there's the storm complexes for your Sunday. So not too much because storms don't like cold air, right? So I mean, there's the warm sector well to the north. So all these areas up here could be looking at up to a slight risk for severe storms, and far upstate New York, headed into Vermont and New Hampshire and extreme portions of Maine here. So definitely be on the lookout for that, because you obviously have a lot of heat up in the upper atmosphere to be contending with that storm clock, complex out ahead of the cold front. So definitely be on the lookout for some stronger storms as we get into your Sunday time frame. But there's the temperatures on Monday. I mean, there's not many record highs to deal with. In fact, just one. There's only one record high, because we can say goodbye, and that's way down south into Brownsville here. So that's going to be we're just going to be significantly more refreshing air for a lot of you folks that's been just waiting, because May has been pretty hot. In some of these areas have actually seen the hottest May on record so far. But as we go into Monday, we make the transition with this cold front kind of hanging around in much of Oklahoma and Texas, with this new disturbance is going to come in from the southwest here. That's actually going to be creating a lot more lift, and it's going to be a slow mover. Slow movers typically imply flooding rains, and we could be looking at actually some welcome rains for a good chunk of Texas, especially from central to eastern through eastern Texas, heading into Oklahoma, with a pretty significant rain threat on the table. Not much severe weather with this type setup, but flooding rains could be on the table as we go into that Monday time frame. Because if you look at the water vapor imagery as we get into Monday night, I mean, storms do explode over much of Texas, heading into central Texas and to North Texas, going into portions of Kansas and to Oklahoma. We could be looking at some pretty significant rains on the table, especially as we go into Monday night. And all that instability down here with this little wave, these little tropical wave features that's coming in from the Caribbean, that's just going to spread tropical moisture. It's not going to form into any tropical entity or anything like that, but it's just more of a tropical wave and a surge. And you get that a lot of times with these Central American gyra type features down there in the Caribbean. They just take a while to just kind of sit and spin, and they pinwheel their moisture further north, and it's going to be tapping into some of those disturbances you're going to be coming across. So that's going to be providing the lift that's needed to pull that moisture further north. And yeah, we could be looking at more rains coming back into portions of the southeast as we go into your Monday time frame. But there's your slight risk for excessive rainfall into Monday. This is Monday, your May 23rd time frame into Texas. So much of these areas are in a pretty significant drought, especially southwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex into central Texas and to South Texas. So this is actually really, really welcome rains for for that drought out here into portions of Texas. But there's the setup on Monday where that pretty significant rain threat could be setting up over Texas, Oklahoma, into Kansas. That'll pinwheel across, even all the way lifting further north into portions of Missouri, Arkansas, all the way down to the deep south into Louisiana, spreading that tropical moisture combined with that disturbance for the southeast. So yeah, all those rains could be on the table, and it's a slow mover. So there's Wednesday. So you have your Monday, Tuesday, and there's your Wednesday setup finally going to be on the move, but it's going to be a slow moving, mover, dumping some heavier rains, on the table. But there's your snow threat over the next 5 days. And I can't believe we're still even talking about snow for this time of year, but late season snows can happen in the Rocky Mountains, and it's happening this year. In fact, I looked at some of the records. I think your latest snowfall on record in Denver was around June the 2nd. So not like unprecedented or anything like that. But hey, it's a pretty significant snowstorm, especially if you've been so dry. In fact, they need all the precipitation they get out there because it's been really bone dry out here. So yeah, but when you're talking going from 88 degrees to a snowstorm Friday and Saturday, in some of these areas, with the snowpack on Sunday morning, Denver's expected to hit 25 degrees. That could be one of your latest hard freezes on record down there. So a rapid transition. But it doesn't actually, it's not going to hang around, guys. It's not going to hang around. The ridge will build back, and you'll be back into the upper 80s by the time you get into next weekend. But before that, you got more snow that's going to be on the table for the Intermountain West and a good chunk of the Rocky Mountains. Denver's probably picking up 3 to 5 inches with this for Friday and Saturday. Out in the mountain ranges, anywhere from foot to maybe 18 inches. You could have some isolated pockets of say 2 feet of snow, and it could stick around because I think the temperatures are going to be cold enough. It's just not going to melt on contact. So some of these areas could actually have a snowpack for at least a day or two before the rapid melting comes back for next week. But here's the rain setup between now and then, between now time frame and your Wednesday time frame. So for those several days, actually pretty dry out here to the west. You just have multiple disturbances along this cold front, and where the significant rains are going to be as much of central and eastern Texas, Oklahoma, into Kansas, into Missouri, heading into Illinois, into Arkansas, back here to Louisiana. And then you have the combination of that tropical moisture and that slow moving front heading in from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, back here to the southeast. Those areas could be picking up your heaviest rainfalls for much of the country, and even into Florida down here, picking up some healthy rainfalls for the next several days to come. So, and this just extends all the way into portions of Wisconsin and heading into Michigan here, and then lighter amounts as you transfer up here into the mid-Atlantic states and to the Northeast. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video and definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before and after storm.